Ladies and gentlemen, presented by the WZWA Network, it's the Insider's Edge Podcast with your host, Karlifornia.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Insider's Edge Podcast here on the WZWA Network. I'm your host with the most on the West Coast, Karlifornia and Fury. It's a joy to be with you all once again. Speaking of a joy, right here, right now, I get to speak to 1/3 of the spectaculars from the National Wrestling Alliance, one of my favorite wrestling promotions going today. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the one, this is the only, the incomparable Mr. Rush Freeman. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. Lovely introduction.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And Rush, I'm excited to learn about your journey in pro wrestling. And I wanted to first and foremost ask you, like I ask everybody on the show, first question, how did you become a fan of pro wrestling before you got involved in the business?
Man, I was a fan since I was a little kid. I was obsessed with The Rock and Stone Cold. I was so obsessed that my mom actually grounded me from watching wrestling for years. It was after The Rock had pretty much like stepped away and went to Hollywood that I actually started watching full time again. So it was like 2002 when I really got going, and I just loved it. We didn't have cable at the house, so we just watched SmackDown, and yeah, I just became obsessed with it. 2002 and then on. My favorites back then were Eddie, Chris, Chavo, Kurt Angle, Undertaker, just that Edge, Rey Mysterio, that whole unit they had on SmackDown.
Right, cool. See, this is what I love about having people on the show that are close to my age, because a lot of people I've had on the show, in their 50s and 60s are mostly retired from the business. But I get to talk to people like you and have a little chin wag about, what it was like being a fan back then. And it was just such a fun time to be a fan because wrestling was cool at the time. But I do find it funny that you mentioned that your mum banned it. What was behind that? You were just so obsessed that she just wanted to keep you away from it, and little did she know that all these years later you'd actually be a pro wrestler.
Yeah, I don't know. I need to ask her why exactly she did it. I don't know if she was afraid that I was just going to beat up my sister, or I was overly obsessed with The Rock, and I remember I kept like writing The Rock on like random shit. I remember I had it written on my desk at one point. Just maybe I was doing too much graffiti around the house. Maybe she thought I was going to turn out to be a homosexual. I don't know what it was, but she shut that down.
I can totally see that. And I was the same too. On my file at school, I had like DX and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Being a fan back then, though, it's kind of funny because my friend Mike, he used to say this to me all the time, like, his parents, every time they walked into the room and he had Monday Night Raw on, it would happen to be during a moment where like Mae Young is trying to take her clothes off, or or there's a hot lesbian action, things like that. And
yes,
like,
HLA.
Yeah. So the parents would be like, how is this wrestling? But that's really interesting to hear all that. And it's not in my questions here, but what did your mum think when you eventually became a pro wrestler after all that?
Honestly, they're all pretty supportive of it. My mom and dad. My grandma was a little hesitant because she kept watching my practice and watching my matches and just seeing me get the crap beat out of me. And I'm loving every second of it. She is like, "Oh my God, my grandson's getting killed." But your parents were really supportive, and they've actually been to a lot of the NWA shows. They'd come to NWA shows before I was even signed. I was working on the ring crew, and that's how I got in with NWA. And they would just show up and help out in any way they could and just be part of the crowd.
That's cool. I've had plenty of people on the show before say that, when their grandmother was in the crowd seeing them perform for the first time, the grandmother ended up trying to jump the guardrail to go after the opponent. So, okay, let's scale it back to how you got into the wrestling business, because look, the internet can be full of shit sometimes, but I was looking and it appears that you start a little bit later on. It could be wrong though. Did you like debut at the age of 30?
With NWA, yeah, it sounds right. It was June 2021, so yeah, I was 30. I started officially wrestling. I think my first match was maybe a year prior. I started training in 2019, and yeah, so I had my first match 2019. 2021, I had my first NWA match. And I technically started training in 2016, but I don't really count it. It was just training with some local yokels. Just went and got beat up and concussed and never went back. And so I officially got properly trained in 2019.
Right. So, I mean, for a lot of people, when they get into the business, usually they're a bit younger than that.
Yeah.
What led to the decision? Like, what was it that made you think, you know what, I've got to do it. If I'm not going to do it now, I'm never going to do it.
Yeah, great question. I finished college and I got a degree in environmental health and safety. And so I've been in construction for 8 years now. And it was about a couple years in, and I just started thinking like I was listening to a podcast. I remember it was Stone Cold Steve Austin, and he had Ricky Morton on the show. And Ricky Morton was talking about how he has a wrestling school. And I was thinking to myself, okay, you just go to school and learn it, and then you can do it. I can do it. And I'd kind of switched my mentality. My whole life, it was one of those, I wanted to do it, but I kind of told myself it can never be done. And then it clicked in me like, no, it actually can be done. You just got to go to school and learn how to do it. It's like becoming a doctor. And so, anyway, I decided to start looking into what's out there. It really helped. James Storm went to my gym. And so I finally mustered up the courage and went and asked him, where do I need to go? Who do I need to talk to? What do I need to do? And he's been really instrumental in just helping me along the path, honestly.
Right. That's excellent. Because if you think about it, that's a pretty good turnaround to start only, a few years ago, and you're in the National Wrestling Alliance. Like, for a lot of people, it'd be very difficult to get somewhere like that so quickly. So congratulations. You've obviously done something.
Thank you.
Right.
It really was like, I had really good, the place I went to school was Tried and True Pro Academy in Tennessee. And they had I guess, the contract to do the ring crew and supply the ring for the National Wrestling Alliance. And so I had asked Crimson, who was the school owner, if I could be on the ring crew, and he let me go. And I just kept going every single time they'd have tapings. And you show up enough times and you get in a good enough shape, they'll use you. So that was what it was.
Very good. That's good stuff. So there's a first match that everyone always has when they get into the pro wrestling business. Is that a story? Is there anything that you can tell me about your very first match that you had in front of a paying crowd?
Yeah, my first NWA match was, it was myself, Jordan Clearwater, and a guy named Papa Jive, and it was kind of me and Papa Jive's our tryout match, and Jordan Clearwater was already there and established. So it was what it was, and they were both really sweetheart baby faces, and so I was like, I'm wearing all black, I'll turn it up, and so I was the heel for it, and it was just trying to get out of my comfort zone a little bit and just really be the one that stood out the most. I wanted people, people are saying three of us in there, I want them to remember me the most, so I really just tried to turn up my energy. And honestly, the match wasn't that bad. I wasn't happy with it when it was over. I was like, oh no, I was terrible. But I watched it back, and it's a decent beginner's match. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great, but it was what it was. My first ever indie match was just a guy from Tennessee or Kentucky, and that was just drizzling. It was awful. So my NWA debut was a lot better than that.
That's good to hear. So obviously the guy that runs the show there is Mr. Billy Corgan, or as he's known on the shows, William Patrick Corgan. What were your first impressions of meeting the lead singer of the Smashing Pumpkins and your boss?
See, I didn't know he was the lead singer of the Smashing Pumpkins. I thought he was just a guy who owned a wrestling company.
Really?
And I thought he dressed a little unique. He would wear a coat and kind of drape it over his shoulders. He wouldn't put his arms to the sleeves. So I thought it was just, this guy's a little unique. All right. He'd wear his flat bill off to the side, and he's a white guy. And so it's just like, there's something characteristic about him. And so it was like the third set of tapings before I ever realized he was the lead singer of the Smashing Pumpkins. And I just had no idea who he was. I just thought he owned a wrestling company. But since he took a liking to me, so like he's the one who gave me the opportunity to be in that triple threat with Clearwater. And there was just, we've had a really good connection for the whole time I've known him. And honestly, he's a mentor to me. I've told him he's like a dad to me. So he's a really good guy.
Oh, that's great to hear. So it appears like your first angle, like the first thing when you're really starting to get involved is with the Ill Begotten. And I remember these days with NWA Powerrr, it was getting rave reviews because it was just so different to everything else. Just tell me how exciting this was for you and that experience, finally getting in there after being a fan for so many years, and now you're a part of something.
Yeah, it was unique. So he gave me that shot, and then a couple months later, we had NWA 73 in St. Louis, and maybe it was 74, I can't remember. But anyway, he told me, we've got a lot of stuff coming up for you. You've got a tag team partner. You're going to be in a storyline. You guys are in faction. It's going to be great. And so it was me and Yuma. Yuma was an astronaut. I'm some guy who's, this hair and wear black leather stuff. And we don't really match. They're just kind of thrown together. And he's like, that's the beauty of it. It makes no sense. It's the Ill Begotten. And so that's just where it went. And Yuma was great to learn from. He's a former Ring of Honor guy. He's been in this business for years. He's very smart and just a good person to know. I really liked working with him. That was a good part for my career. Honestly, I was still in that phase. I'm just happy to be here, and it was good where it was. I mean, we didn't win a lot of matches, but I'm here having fun. We'll get better as we go.
Yeah, no, it does look like fun, that's for sure. So that's kind of your first thing that you did, but I guess something that you're more known for is this run with the Spectaculars. How did the idea of the Spectaculars come about?
Man, things were getting stale with the Ill Begotten. Yuma had left, Alex Taylor, Jeremiah Plunkett, and Anthony Lucchesio, Danny Dills came in, and they just kind of ran the show, and I was off to the side. I didn't fit in. And so they had really forced Yuma out. Now they were kind of just seeing me out. And so I'm like, I created this. I'm the front man. Why am I not in it? And so Plunkett actually, after I'd lost my match, he told me he wanted to remove me from the Ill Begotten, and he had been talking with Brady Pierce about being a new member, and Brady Pierce had also been talking to me at the same time. And so Billy liked the idea of us being together. So that's how the Spectaculars were formed. And honestly, it was, one of those like, here's what you have, here's what you can do, see what you can do. And we didn't know what to make of it, but honestly, it was a really successful run. It could have been a lot better. It had a lot of problems, but it was the best part of my career so far. Brady ended up, we parted ways. We're still, it is what it is. But Brady parted ways, and we replaced him now with Spencer Slade and Rolando, my big brother. So that's how the group has evolved. But honestly, the Spectaculars, it's awesome.
That's great to hear. Yeah, I do like the way that you and Rolando bounce off one another. And
we bicker so much. We bicker like a married couple.
Really? Because I really enjoyed the segments of Who Wants to Be a Spectacular? That went, they were quite recent as you were searching for the new member to replace Brady. Tell me about that. How fun was that? Because Rolando, he's playing the character so well. He's working me into getting annoyed because he keeps on disagreeing with everything that you and Billy say.
100%.
So
I was
arrogant.
Yeah, honestly, I talked to Billy like, all right, what do we want to do? Brady's gone. You want me and Rolando to split up? Do you want us to stay together and be a tag team? Do you want a new Spectacular? And he said, you and Rolando are still together. I do not want to ever split you boys up. He can do all his adventures with you. Oh, all right. He said he wanted us to get a new Spectacular though. So we had pitched a couple ideas on some people out there, and the people on the roster, like we have a great roster and I love all of them, well, almost all of them. But I couldn't picture myself being paired up with anybody else that was available. There's good guys that were thrown out there. I just couldn't picture them being a Spectacular. And so Spencer Slade, I've known him for a couple of years now. We worked some shows in Alabama together. We worked shows in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania together. And I pitched the idea to Billy, and Billy loved him. So that's how we got him put in the Star Search. And it was Billy's idea completely for the Star Search, and it went great.
Yeah, it was good fun. I was looking forward to each episode of it, and when I saw Spencer Slade, I was like, I think that's the guy. How are you finding the chemistry with you guys as a team this early on?
So far, we've only had one match, and he's a great wrestler. He really is. And we're trying to get it worked out. We got to hammer in our things. Like every tag team has their things. we got to figure out what ours are. Excuse me. He's a very technical submission style wrestler. I am a very flashy, characteristic wrestler, if you'll say. So we're just trying to figure out how to put it all together. He's not a dancer. You'll see me get out there and do the thing with Rolando. You're not going to see Spencer doing that. He said it clearly. He's not a dancer. So we're trying to figure out who we are as a team.
Right, fair enough. And I don't want to kind of go back to talking a bit about Rolando. You said that you two bicker a lot. Tell me a little bit about the relationship between you two.
Man, I'll pull the curtain back a little bit. Rolando and I aren't technically 100% full blood brothers. We actually didn't meet each other until a couple years ago at the Nightmare Factory, and I didn't really know him too well. I thought he was just kind of like to himself and didn't really want to talk, and so we didn't really click too well. He didn't follow me back on Instagram. So, all right. Anyway, he came to first time I ever saw him was at a Nightmare Factory workout, and I thought, that guy looks like me. He looks like a miniature version of me. And that's not a diss on him. He just does. We have the same facial hair and hair. And anyway, he came to an NWA show in Knoxville. It was called Always Ready. It was Matt Cardona's pay-per-view. And he just came in to ask, how can I help? Set up the ring, do the chairs, whatever. And just had some friends wrestling. And I talked to him. How you been, man? Hadn't seen you in a while. After the conversation was over, I said, can we get a picture together? He's like, yeah, all right, whatever. And I sent it to the office. I sent it to Pat Kenny, and I said, check out my mini-me. Pat Kenny says, bring him back to production right now. And so within minutes of him walking in, he has a job with the NWA. And our first thing was like a little program with him and Trevor Murdoch. It was just kind of a squash thing. And then the next pay-per-view, we show up and we have no idea what's going on. Like me and Brady are in a battle royal. Rolando, you got anything? He's like, oh yeah, I'm facing Cardona. I'm like, you're facing Cardona? So like, it took him a while to get opened up where he was close with me and Brady. But as soon as he did, then it really was like a married couple. Like we will argue, like, no, this is what we need to be doing. This is what we need to be doing. You'll find videos of us like bickering about stuff. And it's typically real stuff that we have going on with us. And we are great friends. We get along great. And we really are brothers and family. But we do bicker. So we put each other first.
All right. Well, that's great to hear. And speaking of the stuff with Brady, like I thought when I was watching the angle play out, I was sure that Rolando was going to turn on you. And it was going to be you against those two. But it didn't turn out that way. What if there's anything, any light you could shed on it? What led to Brady leaving?
Wasn't happy, but I will say Brady lives in Miami, Florida. Our next show is in Fort Lauderdale, and so Brady technically won by a technicality, or I technically won by a technicality. Matt Cardona hit me, covered me over Brady. Yeah. There's plenty of reasons he can make his way back into the company if he wants to, but just. He wasn't happy where he was with the Spectaculars. So that's why things happen.
Right, fair enough. And well, it was a loser leaves town match, so it's a different town. So it's
yeah, loser leaves town. We're in a different city
now. Okay, so in my research, I also noticed outside of the NWA, you became the WAH champion. So when I try and compare the two, okay, in NWA, you doing tag team stuff, you might be working on Powerrr, but the matches might be like 5-6 minutes long. Now there's another company, you're their champion. Now you're in the main event. Now you're working main event style matches. Tell me about that, kind of difference, and I guess how good it's been for you to grow as a performer, having to work main event style matches.
So I'm not working with WAH anymore. Nothing against them. They're a great company. They are in Oklahoma and I am in Washington. So it's about 2,000 miles and 32 hours of driving difference. So I ended up moving back in September. But the time spent with them was great. They have a really good, it's called Wrestling Against Hunger. So it's really good organization with a good goal. All the money they raise, they, put it towards a food bank and donate it to local families in need. you can't get better than that. But I did enjoy working in Oklahoma. I've lived in 11 different American states, and
Wow.
I lived in Oklahoma. I was raised there, but I moved back there earlier this year. I lived there for about 6 months, and in that time I had to wrestle 30 matches there. And like you were saying, it's a different pace. On TV, you've got 6 minutes, bell to bell, get it. Here in the city, like no one really cares. It's just go out there and wrestle, have fun, look good. And so you can try a lot more things. You can go for a lot longer. So I'd have 15, 20-minute matches and really get to, work on my character abilities, work on just the things I've got going on that I really want to get and use on NWA television one day. I changed my finish. My finish was always a blue thunder bomb, but it really wasn't finishing anybody. So we switched it up, and now I'm using the Razor's Edge, just like Scott Hall, Razor Ramon, and just the hair, it looks like. So I got over pretty well with that, and it was a really good time to really perfect the craft of getting my finish in. And I do miss those shows. I've been working shows in Oregon, a little bit in Washington lately. I worked for POW Pro Wrestling this past weekend. It's in Eugene, Oregon. It was a 5-hour drive. So I love NWA shows. I will pick them over independent shows any day. Plus, I'm working with great people and people I used to watch on TV. That's the coolest part. I used to watch these guys on TV, and now they're in the locker room with me. So
yeah, it must be mind blowing, really, when you're there backstage and you get to just have a conversation with Ricky Morton whenever you want. Or
my first victory in NWA was over Fandango. And I'm like, dude, you wrestled Chris Jericho at WrestleMania. I'm pinning you tonight. This is awesome. Like, life is good.
That's awesome. So okay, goals, things that you want to accomplish, not just in the NWA, but list off some things, bucket list items. What are things you're looking to accomplish in the next few years?
That's a great question. We'll start with the NWA. They just renewed my contract for another 6 months. We do an option thing. So in 6 months, I'll have the option to extend. So over this next 6 months, I really want to get the spectaculars over. I want to get established with Spencer Slade. I want to show what we can do. With Brady, nothing against Brady. It wasn't his fault. We were looked at as a joke. We don't want to be looked at as a joke anymore. We want to be taken seriously as competitors. And again, that wasn't Brady. That was more me and Rolando. Brady was kind of the poster child of success, and he was just with us. And so we're changing that image. That's our goal for the next 6 months. Beyond, I'm going to see how far NWA will take me. I'm not planning to leave. I'm not planning to go anywhere else. I love the company, and I'm a father. I told you that. Mm-hmm. With my parenting schedule, it's not like I can be on the road 52 weeks a year. NWA, we're almost part-time, I want to say. I mean, they send us out every 50, 60 days. It's not every month. It's not every 2 months. It's just kind of there. So it really works for everybody's schedule. I can still have a full-time job, get my benefits, get my health insurance, all that good stuff. Things are different here. We actually have to pay for our own health insurance and stuff. Yeah. So it really works for my schedule. I'd really love to see the company grow, and they're really good at pushing new talent. So I want to be one of the new talent they push. So far, it's been the Southern Six, Thoroughbilly, Silas Mason, Alex Taylor, who's my old partner, and Kerry Morton. They're kind of the golden children nowadays, and I'm making them work for it. I do the best I can to be relevant, and whether people like me or dislike me, they're talking about me, they're thinking about me. So I want to stay in people's minds.
Right. Well, that's cool. It's really cool to hear that such a great work-life balance, and you can also have your full-time job as well, because they do tapings, and that might be a month's worth of television for the NWA. Mm-hmm. So you just need to be there for like a weekend or something like that, and then
yeah, things have changed a little bit. It used to be 5 days. We'd get there on Friday night, right, and that's just arrival. Saturday show, Sunday show, Monday show, Tuesday show, maybe a Wednesday show, and then fly home. So you'd be looking at 6 days potentially. Now we're usually in and out within flying out Friday, flying back Sunday.
So, okay, that's cool.
But I feel like the shows would extend out. We wouldn't have to do the tapings every 2 months. We'd do them every 4 months back then because they had more days of content.
Right. Okay. So you kind of mentioned about seeing the NWA grow and being a part of that process. From your point of view, what do you think NWA needs to do or have take place to get to like a next level that everyone's looking for?
Good. You're full of good questions. You know, a lot of guys come in there just like, who do you think's better, Roman Reigns or LA Knight? Like, some terrible questions. But so that's a really good question. What can we do as a company to grow? They're pushing new talent, which I like. Like sometimes I feel like they're pushing somebody they don't need to. There's been plenty of guys who I've counted the lights for that are no longer in the company. And that's one of my pet peeves. I don't mind losing to anybody, but I want to lose to people that are growing. And I don't want to see that same person on AEW 2 weeks from now, because that's just insulting to me. So I really want to see the younger talent get over. One of the best, I was asking one of the upper management guys, what can I do to help? And he said, just be great. So if we get more guys that are focused on just getting themselves elevated to the next level rather than just showing up for a paycheck or just being more selfish with it, then I feel like the company can grow. So that's on the talent. As far as what can the company do, a lot of people tell us we need to travel more. So we go to Florida a lot. We go to Tennessee a lot. We used to go to Atlanta, but we don't do that anymore. But really, most of our shows primarily are in Florida or in Nashville, Tennessee. One annual show in St. Louis, which is Missouri. I feel like if they would broaden out and hit other states, it would help get more fans. Also work with other territories and other towns that aren't affiliated with us, because I'll go to these indie shows that have 400 people on them, and then we'll run an NWA show and we're lucky to have 70 people. The Crockett Cup this year was a prime example. Our numbers were pretty low, in my opinion, for what I was expecting. I got in the best shape of my life, went out there. There was not a lot of people out there to watch, so I was a little upset about that. But I feel like if we hit more cities, extend our advertising that way, I think that would help.
Right, cool. Yeah, it's an interesting like the way that the company's kind of set up with the, you do the power tapings, and then you have the big pay-per-view. I find it like an interesting concept that the NWA has there. But speaking of like NWA Power, sometimes I'm a bit cheeky and I'll send like Joe Galley a message and pitch an idea just because I've thought of it, because I do reviews of NWA Power every week on our channel's Patreon. So I'm always thinking of different things, and just sometimes when I'm watching Power, I'm like, geez, I'd like to get to know who that person is a little bit better. Like someone like a Dak Draper. Like I've seen him a few times, but I have no idea anything about him. Sometimes he might talk in an interview with Mims or whatever, but I still haven't really got to know him. So I said to Joe, it would be really great if like every episode there was like a 90-second, spotlight on a certain person where you just got to know them a little bit, like getting to know like Ruthie J for 90 seconds, getting to know what makes her tick and what her character's all about. There's a plethora of people there that I would love to just get to know a little bit more about, but you just get these small little windows to find out about them if they're getting interviewed backstage kind of thing. I don't know. What do you think of something like that?
That's really good. I can say that actively what they're doing to help promote people would be the live stream they do on Mondays. It's called This Is the NWA. And they'll kind of promote their matches they have coming up. And then they will also they'll bring on a guest. Tonight they brought on Pollo Del Mar, and they talked about the new website. The new website's launched, and it has the profiles and the biographies and whatnot of all of the wrestlers that are working for us. So we actually are, if you're my age, you remember we used to go to WWE.com all the time. We'd go look at our favorite wrestlers and it would talk about them and have pictures and matches and stuff. And we've kind of adopted that and started doing that. Love it. But yeah, I wanted to be more than just a guy who wrestles. I wanted to be someone who's remembered and character driven. So like with that Monday night live stream I just mentioned, I do a thing called Storytime with Rush every week. So I tell them something from my history. Like, this is the time when I was a little kid, my dad beat me because I was bad. I'll tell like a funny story. But yeah, that's a really good idea to promote the guys within. Because like I know Dak Draper really well. Like he's one of the ones I talk to a lot when I'm at these shows, because he is a funny, genuinely cool guy. But as far as his character and whatnot, I just know he teams with Mims, and they might do an occasional promo together, but I don't really know a whole lot about who Dak Draper is on TV compared to who he is when we're riding in the bus together. Ruthie J, kind of the same. I don't really know Ruthie J at all. I've said hi to her backstage a couple times, and I don't really know much about her character. I know she's very nice. She's a very sweet girl. She's very young. I think she's like 20, 21, 22, somewhere in there.
Right.
But she's been very pleasant to work with, but I don't really know about her. So yeah, if we could, enhance who we are by showing backstage stuff and interactions. I love skits and doing stuff like that. I think of like old SmackDown to Raw where they were running around the hallways. Like, I got this going on. And they tell storylines backstage. I love that kind of stuff. So if we can put some stuff like that in there, I think it'd be great.
Yeah, I don't know. I just I've been watching NWA pretty frequently for about 2 years now. I didn't
You.
watch a lot early on, but that's because I was just so burned out with wrestling. My friends kept saying, "You got to watch this. You got to watch this." I can't. I can only put up with pay-per-views. I can't do the weekly thing. But now I've been watching it pretty frequently for the last 2 years, and that was just something that popped into my head. Just thinking, geez, I've seen this person so many times and I still know nothing about them. So I just wanted to say that. But anyway, back to some more talk about the NWA. One thing that gets really like grinds my gears is with the internet wrestling fan. And I get annoyed with reading people say negative things, and I'm like, you didn't even watch the show. You've made your mind up about the NWA already. From your point of view, what are some of those misconceptions that are out there from some of those wrestling fans that don't really watch the NWA, but they've already come up with their idea about what it's all about?
Yeah, they'll kind of go off the mainstream media, like when we had the infamous cocaine spot that everyone talks about. Like, who cares? Like, it was a storyline driven, funny haha moment that got blown out of proportion. Like, we've seen other crazy stuff that gets blown out of proportion too that people talk about. Like Jim Cornette, whenever he made a just random off statement he'd made 100 times in the 80s on TV.
Gosh, it was
He
just
said Trevor Murdoch is tough enough. He could strap a bucket of chicken across his back and ride a moped across Ethiopia or something stupid like that.
yeah.
And it's one of those like cancel culture, stupid stuff. Anyway, it's just people don't give it a chance. And if they do give it a chance, it's almost like when your parents walked in and May Young was given birth to a baby hand or something like that. It's just maybe they're not catching it at the right time. But it's it's been on YouTube and now it's on the CW app. Maybe they're just people don't watch YouTube. I watch YouTube constantly. I didn't really do the CW app before this, but I'm promoting it. And I don't know. It's just people make up misconceptions. You know how marks are not fans, marks, the ones that are just the ones people dislike.
Yeah.
They've got negative things to say. They don't have pictures of themselves on their profile picture.
No, they
It's
don't.
just,
yeah. There's a reason for it
certain
too.
people like that. Yeah. I get a lot of negativity myself. Like people I've never met. People will say Freeman sucks. The Fixers made that a thing because me and the Fixers troll each other like there's no tomorrow. And anyway, they made up this thing Freeman sucks. So I get that comment on all my stuff all the time, tweeted at me by people I've never met. It's just it doesn't bother me anymore.
Yeah, but it's just interesting, isn't it? That fake outrage. Like, come on, like how many TV shows and movies have you seen where someone's doing cocaine? Like he's not actually doing cocaine. It's like it's just because it's live action, I suppose. So it comes across maybe a little bit, I don't know, more confronting to people, but it's so stupid. It's James Mitchell. Like the character's insane. From what I've heard, the real him is pretty much the character as well.
The real him is very similar to the character.
Geez, and then they'll put the TV on and maybe there's a repeat of the Sopranos on and someone's beating someone's head in, but that's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's just man, and the Jim Cornette thing that still really annoys me because it's like I don't think people actually understood what they were mad at. They just thought, like it was a racist. Like, there's no way it was they didn't get the joke. They just saw Ethiopia and chicken and oh my god, like how dumb do you have to be to
sadly that happened in season 1. I started with the company in season 2. So that was when I first worked on Ring Crews. I never actually got to meet Jim Cornette. And I've listened to him 100 times, 1,000 times on his podcast. And it's Jim Cornette. You don't agree with everything he says, but you like a lot of stuff he says. So he would have been a great guy to meet. And yeah, I'd love to just send him, hey, here's my match. Here's my promo. Can you just give me feedback and let him yell at me about how much I suck? I would actually enjoy that.
Of course, that'd be great. But yes, anyway, there are a lot of misconceptions. And I think people just need to give it a chance. I had Camille on the show, I think it was late last year. We talked about the same thing, and that is just give it a chance, give it a shot. Like, I honestly believe people will give it, if they give it a chance, they'll enjoy it.
Agreed. And also, speaking of Camille, she's great. Her husband, Tom Latimer, he was one of my trainers at the Pride and Crew Academy. He helped train me. And I can't say enough good things about either of them. They've been great having as mentors while I've been getting started. Me and Camille don't talk as much. I text Tom almost every day. Camille, I'll text her here and there, and usually I just have random conversations with her. But me and Tom talk all the time.
Yeah, he's been pretty cool with me too. But yeah, Camille's actually she's my favorite pro wrestler.
That's great.
Yeah, because she just
I'll get you an autograph.
She just kept stealing the show every pay-per-view. I was like, the lads are having a hard time keeping up with her with the world title. She was killing it, and that's how she became.
Yeah, I was actually really sad to see that she lost the title. Nothing against Kenzie Page, but Camille is like in a whole nother level. She is just the best, and I was really sad to see her drop the title.
I was too, because you know what? It was the first time that I would in years that I was watching wrestling, and I was literally like on the edge of my seat, not wanting her to lose. I don't care who wins or loses these days. I've seen so much wrestling over the last 25 years that I've been a fan, that I usually, it doesn't bother me, because I'm interested to see what happens, how things play out. But with her, it was like going for a sports team, and like I don't want her to lose. She better not lose this one. Like, I was literally feeling like the old fan I once was. So it was nice to feel that feeling again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, they had a great match. Well, I mean, we were talking about, I'm kind of the same way. I don't really care who wins and loses. It's just, it is what it is. But whenever it was Cody versus Roman at Mania, I was really going for Cody. I went to Nightmare Factory. I don't know Cody well, but I know him. He knows me. It's just, we're kind of separate people. I wasn't in his class, but I was just so going for Cody, and he lost. That was the one time I was like, oh, I'm a wrestling fan again. They got me.
That's great.
No, don't happen.
That's great to know that it can still happen, right? Because I remember when what year was it? About 2010, I started training to be a pro wrestler. And after I trained, I don't know, when I watched it, it was different to me. It wasn't the same as it was before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good
like,
that sometimes you get back there.
Yeah. Before I was introduced to the world of wrestling, when I just was a fan and a spectator, I want to go to every show that came to town. I would want to watch SmackDown and Raw and AEW and every show that came on. And now I'll watch NWA Powerrr on Tuesday nights, but I'll usually just catch up on any other shows, like on just TikTok or Instagram or clips, YouTube, whatever I see. I don't set aside 6 hours a week like I used to. When I grew up, I had a VHS collection. It was like 3 episodes of SmackDown, Raw, SmackDown, SmackDown, Raw, SmackDown, all the way across this whole thing. And I had a whole collection. That was my original WWE network. But now I can't even watch 2 hours a week.
It's just, I don't know what it is. I just can't do it. Like, the show's too long. Like, that's the joy of NWA. It's like 45 minutes, like
it leaves you wanting more. Sometimes the episodes you're like, all right, that was a good episode. Sometimes you're like, I want more.
Yeah, of course. And that was the feeling I used to feel back in the day when I was a fan in 1998. You saw the little logo pop up in the corner. You knew that they were going off the air, and you had to wait a whole week for the next episode.
And I just white box.
No. But and I've run out of questions now, but now we're just having a chin wag. But there's one thing that kind of bugs me is like, okay, it's time for me to do a review for my YouTube channel for the AEW pay-per-view. Oh, cool. The pre-show is 90 minutes, and then the main pay-per-view is 4 hours. And I'm like, it's just too long,
Yeah, Mania used to be 1 day. Now it's 2 days. Like, it's long. Even NWA 75 in St. Louis this year, it's gone to a 2-day event. Initially, it was Powerrr. It was an all-women's pay-per-view, and then an all-men's pay-per-view the next night. And the Powerrr pay-per-view is great. I don't even remember why we never did it again. But yeah, these 2-day pay-per-views are killing us. Like, if I want to go to WrestleMania, if I want to buy my ticket, I want to buy one ticket and go to one day and go home. I don't want to go 2 days in a row and have to pay double and all that.
Yeah, because tickets go on sale. You don't know what the main event's going to be on either an evening, and you might buy a ticket to night one, not want to go to night two, and then night two's got the better main event. It's just
exactly, yeah.
Oh god, back in the day, WrestleMania was just maybe 3.5 hours long.
Yeah, and not everybody was on the card.
No, but now, oh man, it's just a bit much. That's all. But it's.
Yeah.
I think the wrestling business at the moment is doing pretty good. Like, it seems like there's a lot of interest at the moment because of all the drama that took place throughout 2023. It doesn't seem to end, but
there's plenty.
I think that it's in a healthy place at the moment. I think it's an exciting time. So, I mean, from your perception, you must be pretty excited to see the way that the industry is at the moment.
Yeah, it's growing. There's a lot of jobs out there, and that I always hear people say it. I wasn't involved at the time, but it used to be just WWE. And then WWE and TNA, those are the only two really. And now you've got a bunch of other companies that are growing up. And it's some of these bigger companies, you can make a living on it. Me, I do have to have a second job. I have to have a full-time career outside of wrestling to get by. But some of these guys don't have to, and they're blessed. But yeah, there's a lot of jobs out there, and it's a lot more room just for exposure.
Excellent. Yes, well said. And had so much fun here with you, Rush. And we're coming towards the end of the interview here, but we've got that final segment that I told you about earlier where we get to find out about your favorite things. So there's 12 questions. It's a quick fire question for a quick fire answer, but it's okay if it takes you a while to think of the answer because most people have a hard time getting the answer out quickly. The first three about wrestling. Who's your favorite pro wrestler of all time?
Chris Benoit.
Very good choice. Rabbit Wolverine. Second one, through your time in pro wrestling so far, who would you say is your favorite opponent that you've ever had?
Tom Latimer.
Another fine choice. Third, if there's one match, if someone said to you, Rush, show me one of your matches from your career, your best one. I want to know what it is that you do. What would be that match? What is your favorite match that you've had?
Me and Brady Pierce versus Matt Cardona and Mike Knox. Really good match.
Awesome. Okay, getting away from wrestling now. Do you have a favorite book?
I'm a Harry Potter guy, so
cool.
A collection of them. If I had to pick one of those, maybe the seventh, but I'm a Harry Potter nerd.
Very good. Do you have a favorite TV show?
Probably changes, but The Simpsons, they've been there since I was a kid, so you got to be loyal.
Very good. Do you have a favorite film?
It was Pearl Harbor growing up. I haven't really selected one as an adult, but when I was a little kid, I loved the movie Pearl Harbor.
Right, cool. Do you have a favorite musical artist or band?
Fall Out Boy. They were probably my favorite band.
Yeah. Yep. Cool. Getting away from the arts now. Do you have a favorite food?
Oh God, changes up. Indian food, Thai food. Yeah.
Very good. You like a bit of spice in your life.
Yeah, I love the spice.
Very good. I do too, but I just can't handle it. You should see me. I have like bits of napkin stuck to my head afterward. I'm just sweating so much. Favorite place to eat on the road?
Waffle House. You ever had Waffle House?
No, we don't have that in Australia, unfortunately.
Oh man, you come to the States, you got to go to the South and get you a Waffle House.
Oh, I'd love to. That's probably the number one answer for that question on this show is Waffle House.
Honestly, yeah, a lot of wrestlers eat Waffle House.
Very nice. I can't wait. One day. You guys have so much stuff over there. Like we've only got like 5 things. We only just got a Taco Bell. I've heard it's the one over here is not very good, but
yeah.
Do you have a favorite alcoholic beverage? And if you don't drink alcohol, just a favorite beverage in general?
I stopped drinking alcohol a year ago, and there wasn't any reason for it. It was just, no, I'm gonna stop. I don't need to do it anymore. So I stopped at New Year's. But pina coladas. I was always a pina colada guy. I know it's a little fruity. But yeah, I love pina coladas. Margaritas are cool too. Regular drinks, Diet Coke. Drink it all the time.
Very nice. Second last one here. It could be considered a naughty one, but it could get a meaningful answer. So if Rush Freeman sees a good-looking lady, you know, what will Rush look at first? What's your favorite female body part or attribute?
So I've got a girlfriend, so I will put this correctly, but I love chests. I love a good chest, and my girlfriend's got an awesome.
Excellent to hear, bro. And the last one here, you seem like a very nice man. I don't believe you've said one swear word, one curse word on this show, but do you have a favorite curse word?
Favorite curse word? My girlfriend's British, and she says the word cunt a lot, and it's just kind of funny hearing her say it. So I'll go with cunt.
That's excellent. Well, Rush, thank you so much for your time on the show here. I've had heaps of fun just shooting the breeze with you, learning a bit about your journey in pro wrestling so far. And I wish you the best for the spectaculars. And once again, just wanted to thank you so much for your time and giving up your time for me here today.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to be on the show. You were a great host. Yeah, make sure everybody's subscribing to this show. It's good.
Thank you very much, Rush. And thank all of you out there for joining us here for the Insider's Edge podcast. I'm Karlifornia. This is my new friend, the spectacular Rush Freeman, and we'll see you down the road. Thank you.
Network, that's the way we play. Good God Almighty. Network, that's the way we play. Get puppies. Network, that's the way we play. Get.
The following announcement has been paid for by the WZWA Network.